Welcome to the Odds Breakers, number one place for shared, sharp betting information.
All right, welcome back to podcast 26 of 2019. I'm your host, Kiev O'Neill. You can tweet us at the Odds Breakers. Follow us on social media / the Odds Breakers. It's the Preakness Stakes, and we have Chris Fallica. This episode is being sponsored by uwager.eu for a 50% bonus for the sportsbook or the racebook. Please visit uwager and use the promo code TheOddsBreakers. Terms and conditions apply. If you'd like to help us out with our costs, sponsor the podcast, we would love to help you out. Please visit theoddsbreakers.com, click shop. And for $12.99 a month, you can become a premium member. Get my picks and premium picks before the line moves. For $2 more, you can have all that and become a patron subscriber. Get the podcast a little bit early. And if nothing else, please visit theoddsbreakers.com and become a free picks newsletter subscriber. All right. This is kind of a continuation, of yesterday's episode with Marco. We're going to go right back into talking about some NFL season win totals. We're going to cover the NFC South before we get Chris on to talk a little bit of Preakness. If you are a handicapper and like to get a little bit more involved and get your name out there, we'd love to hear from you. Please contact us via the Odds Breakers on Twitter or the website. We would absolutely love to hear from you. All right, let's get into and continue on our NFC win totals. So we are going to cover the NFC South today. Little bit of background on the conference, like we always start with. The NFC South has a medium hard schedule. You know, the last 2 years, this conference was the best in the NFL, and then the Falcons kind of fell off a little bit. Bad defense, some injuries. Tampa Bay kind of fell off worse, fired some coaches and things like that. Last year did not live up to the standard, minus the Saints. But you also have to remember that the Falcons and the Panthers have both been to Super Bowls, you know, with their same coach and quarterbacks over the last 4 years. So basically, not much has changed. These teams have a lot of potential. So the NFC South plays the NFC West and the AFC South. You know that the Jaguars should be better in the AFC South. They got new quarterback Nick Foles, and the 49ers coming back from all those injuries should certainly be better. But hey, at least they still get to play the Cardinals twice, right? I guess that's the only good thing going for them right now. So we're going to start, of course, with the New Orleans Saints, all right? And their NFL season win total is at 10.5. That's pretty hot, but it's the Saints, and it's Drew Brees. So their schedule is medium hard. Their at-large games is against the Cowboys and the Bears. Obviously, they are number one in the division, so that's pretty tough. Their key losses are running back Mark Ingram. He was suspended for 4 games anyway. They should be fine there. Max Unger, the center, he was very good. Inside linebacker Manti Te'o, good leader. Safety Kurt Coleman. Tight end Benjamin Watson. Jamon Bushrod as the tackle. He was getting old. And defensive tackle Tyler Davidson. Cornerback P.J. Williams. They actually lost a decent amount. Their key additions, though, Jared Cook fits in well for Ben Watson. Latavius Murray, I guess that kind of fits in for Mark Ingram, but not as good. They have a new center, Nick Easton, replace Max Unger. Like that. Defensive tackle Malcolm Brown helps replace Tyler Davidson. So, and a cornerback / kick returner, Marcus Sherrills, and he's pretty good. Defensive end Mario Edwards. So they picked up really well there, and they drafted pretty well. They got a center, Eric McCoy. They got a safety, Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, another safety in Saquon Hampton, tight end, Elise Mack, linebacker, Caden Ellis. So I don't like the Saints losing Ingram, Te'o, Unger, Coleman, and Watson. But like I said, I think their draft helped a little. Not a ton of pickups, you know. I think they're kind of relying on some of their core guys. Like I said, Jared Cook and Malcolm Brown were great. I have to deduct a half game for good health last year and 2 games for the players they lost, because as you can see, they lost a decent amount. Give them a half game back for their draft and free agency, and I have about a 10.5 win total on them. And so exactly on the button, right? They won 13 games last year, but their Pythagorean win total was 12. So 12.5 is what you start with. They were really healthy. Take away a half game. Medium schedule last year, 0. Medium schedule this year, 0. No give or take there. But they did lose a ton of players. And, they got a little bit back on draft and free agency. So I came up with exactly what Vegas did at 10.5. There's absolutely no play right there. All right, let's move into the next team. We have the Atlanta Falcons. Their win total is at 9. So their schedule is hard. Atlanta plays the Vikings and the Eagles for at large. I mean, what stinks about this is that the Eagles might be better than the Cowboys, yet they finished second in their division, so Atlanta gets to play them, and obviously the Saints twice, so it was harder on them. So key additions were James Carpenter, Jamon Brown, a couple guards there, tight end Luke Stocker, and Kenjon Barner at running back. Not too much for the free agency, but they lost a lot. They lost cornerback Robert Alford, Tevin Coleman at running back, and they'll get Freeman back, but Coleman was a great second. Defensive end Bruce Irvin, cornerback Brian Poole, and cornerback Justin Bethel. So, they definitely lost a little bit there. Let's go over their draft. They got a guard, Chris Lindstrom, one of the best guards in the draft. Caleb McCary, offensive tackle. Cornerback Kendall Sheffield. Defensive end John Kaminsky. And a couple other guys. Atlanta had 7 wins last year. Okay. And the team's Pythagorean was actually 7.75, so they put up a bunch of points. They were just really decimated by injury. They were almost average last year, but the Falcons had a medium schedule, okay? And now this team, they're coming back, and they didn't really make a lot of pickups. I know they lost Devontae Freeman, Deion Jones, and Lorenzo Neal last year. That definitely made a difference, but I have to give them a half game back for injuries. So that's kind of how we're starting. But I hate how they lost cornerback Robert Alford, both defensive ends, Tevin Coleman, running back, Justin Bethel. You got a minus a half game there. Their schedule is going to be very hard. So I'm penalizing them a game for that. When I look at their draft, they really focused on the offensive line. And I like that. But, I'm going to give them a game back for that. They had they definitely helped protect Matt Ryan this year. But they didn't do quite enough to replace what they lost on defense, okay? They ranked 5th worst last year on defense, giving up 6.1 yards per play. So when you look at it, to repeat some of this, the Atlanta Falcons, 7.4 is their average with Pythag and their 2008 season of 7 wins. Give them a half game for injury, and then you're at 7.9. Hard schedule, take out a game, you're at 6.9. Key losses, take out a half game, you're at 6.4. Give them a game back for draft and free agency. So that's 1 game. And you are at 7.4. So the play looks like it's under 9 here, and in their division with this schedule, I definitely like this play. This is going to be a play for me. Not a huge one, but I don't think the Falcons did quite enough to get back here. Also, when I looked at their schedule and counted out their wins, I couldn't get to 9. And that's just, and when I do that, it doesn't override my number that I come up with, but it definitely tells me something, and it could take me off of that number or a play. So I might have a discrepancy of 1.7. You think it's a play, but it takes me off. But when I counted up their wins, looking at their schedule, I just could not get to 9. So I'm liking this play at under 9 wins. All right, next we have the Carolina Panthers, and they are at a win total of 7.5. Their schedule is medium hard at-large games versus the Packers and the Redskins. So both of those teams should have improved, right? We'll see. The Redskins were decimated by injuries. The Packers had a tough schedule, but Aaron Rodgers is Aaron Rodgers. Key additions: center Matt Paradis, defensive end Bruce Irving, wide receiver Chris Hogan. Not a lot. Key losses: linebacker Thomas Davis, center Ryan Khalil, left tackle Matt Khalil, wide receiver Devin Funchess. I think he was their best receiver for a while. Linebacker David Mayo, kicker Chandler Constanzo. I keep bloodying his name, and Kenjon Barner for running back. So they lost a good amount there on Carolina. Now, who did they draft? A defensive end, Brian Burns. Supposed to be really good. He was amazing in the combine. I believe he's from Florida State. Offensive tackle Greg Little. I like that. Helps a little bit. Protecting old Cam. Quarterback Will Grier. That's going to be interesting. I think there could be some controversy this year. And then, a couple other guys later in the draft. Like I said, they lost a ton on their offensive line with the Khalil brothers being gone. They recovered nicely by picking up Matt Paradis from Denver, drafting Greg Little. I got to tell you, Marty Herney hit it out of the park in addressing the team's biggest needs up front with Burns and Little for the edge. So I do, I definitely like what they did for edge rusher, because they were dying for an edge rusher last year, right? But this Will Grier thing is going to be interesting, because people remember how good he was in the level below in college. And if Cam's going to have that Cam attitude and he's not going to win some games, there could be some quarterback controversy coming up this year. So I'm going to find this team really interesting. I think Miller was a very sneaky pickup, and I definitely like that. He was, Christian Miller, defensive end. I thought he had a fantastic year last year. Anyone from Alabama is usually pretty safe. So definitely like that. Picking up Chris Hogan was a nice touch too. I think, I'm not sure how good he was though. Chris Hogan kind of was that guy that was always open because he wasn't covered on the Patriots, and Brady was smart enough to find him. I'm still not sold on how good this guy is. He's jacked. Definitely think he's a winner, but we'll see. I definitely like what they gained in the draft and in free agency. Funchess wasn't a huge loss, but they do lack in pass catchers. They don't have a lot of receivers there that are any good. Hopefully DJ Moore, improves a lot from their last year's draft. Schedule was medium last year, and it's going to be medium hard this year. They're playing at Green Bay. So looking at this, we have the Carolina Panthers starting. They had 7 wins last year, but their Pythag was 7.81. So I averaged that at 7.4. I'm going to take away a quarter game for injury. They weren't completely not injury-free, but somewhat. So I'm taking away a quarter game. And then their schedule was medium last year, so 0, no penalizing. Their schedule is medium hard this year, so I'm taking away a half game. Key losses, like I said, all those players they lost, I'm taking away a half game. But at the same time, I thought they gained a lot back, so I'm giving them 1.5 for mostly the draft. It's not even really what they did in free agency. I thought they drafted pretty well. And so that brings me to 7.65. The Vegas win total is at 7.5. And unfortunately, that is no play for us. All right, last and certainly least, we have the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Their win total is at 6.5. So their schedule this year is medium hard. They're at large.